church back home, we have our service on Tuesday night also. But anyway, I gave a report of what's going on. The camps, summer camps are going on right now. And I mentioned we had 26 people staying in the one camp. I got a report back. We had 96 people there, children. And then there was the workers and the cooks and so on. But we thank the Lord that we're able to continue to minister. He's given us some strength. I do have plans to be going back over this fall because of the building that Sergey, and you've read that in the newsletter, if I get them here in time, of what's going on there. The Lord has blessed. That's been a real miracle, that building, and we thank the Lord for it. But we appreciate you people and just want to say thanks for your faithful support to us and coming back and see you. Thank you.
It's great to have the Mugers with us. That was an answer to prayer. We've been praying that somehow we would fit into the schedule this month. They're our missionaries of the month, and we've given them a special emphasis this month, and praise the Lord that they were able to be with us. Take time to talk with them before you leave today. Get to know them if you don't know them. You mentioned about camp. Seems like it's camp time. Rachel, as I prayed, is heading to Michigan with a bunch of inner city Chicago kids. So we appreciate you to keep her in prayer. She'll be coming back Saturday, which is when Barb will be leaving for camp. No, when are you leaving for camp? To the 12th. All right, I thought it was the 5th. All right, the dates have changed, but the people remain the same. So Barb will be leaving for camp the 12th. All right, and so be in prayer for Barb. I think you said it's been 5 years since you've been in camp. It's been a while anyway. All right, so pray for Barb as she continues to minister.
Nehemiah chapter 4, we're going to start with verse 13. I'm going to read through verse 18 just in review, and then we'll jump right into our lesson. Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 13 says, "Therefore I sat in the lower places behind the wall and on the higher places. I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the elders, the rulers, and to the rest of the people, Be not afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses." And it came to pass, when our enemies had heard that it was known unto us, and God had brought their counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, every one into his work. And it came to pass from that time forth, that the half of my servants brought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, the bows, and the habergeons, and the rulers were behind the house of Judah. They which builded the wall, and they that bare burdens, with those that laid it, every one with his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. For the builders, every one had his sword girded by his side, and so built, and so built. And he that sounded the trumpet was by him. Let's open the word. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the opportunity here where we have the freedom to come into your house, to open your word, and to speak to us. Lord, I pray that you will speak to us today. So nobody here needs to hear from me, but we all need to hear from you. Pray you hide me behind the cross. Pray you help me only say that which you would have me to say. Pray you will just anoint me now with the Holy Spirit, and my heart's here, Father, and condition our hearts to get everything you want us to be in your word. And may we leave here nearer and closer to you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. I read a study recently that talked about the lives of Christians and how increasingly busy we are becoming. And interestingly, it had a few reasons. It actually listed about 10 reasons, but I'm just going to focus on the first 4 reasons of why they say, or the Christians themselves report as why they have difficulty participating or growing in their spiritual walk. These areas focus on attending church, reading Bibles, and having a strong prayer life. And the thing that's interesting is that each of the Christians in these surveys also indicated that these same reasons also affected their ability to get involved in ministries in addition to the regular service, such as a VBS or soul winning, nursing home visitation, and things of that nature. One of the answers that was given often was that I'm just not that religious of a person. Okay, but in addition to those, the other responses included family responsibilities, I'm too busy, and I have a conflict with the religious schedule. In other words, if I can say it this way, my hands are full. I don't know if you guys have seen this commercial, the booking, where they try to book hotels, and then they have this guy called Captain Obvious. And the other day we were at the park, and I was pushing a stroller and trying to make sure none of the kids fell outside of it, and trying to tie a shoe. And one of the guys says, "Hey, look at you got your hands full there." And that's what I was saying. I didn't say it, thankfully. I thought, "Thank you, Captain Obvious." Yes, my hands are full. Did you go through the grocery store with 3 kids, and there's eggs on the floor, and there's cat food, and we don't even own a cat, and we realize, yes, my hands are full. But oftentimes, what we find is even as Christians, we have difficulty and the challenge of trying to balance our spiritual lives with our other responsibilities or pressures from what we consider our daily lives. And what ends up happening is that we often try to juggle our lives and our schedules to try to find a way, if I can use this word, to squeeze God in to our schedule. And when that happens, we're giving God a place. We're making a place for spiritual things, but we're not giving Him preeminence. We're not seeking Him first, above all things. While it's obviously a great thing to try to be involved in spiritual things, our focus should be on seeking first the kingdom of God and not just seeking to fit God in where He plugs in to our own busy lives. So we're going to look at the life of Nehemiah to examine some of the ways that we can live fruitful lives and hopefully grow spiritually. And what we'll find is that Nehemiah also, like us, had a very busy life. But I think we can employ some of the same qualities and characteristics that we can learn from Nehemiah and develop them into our own lives for spiritual growth. If you'll turn first with me, if you're still there, Nehemiah chapter 2. verse 5. In Nehemiah chapter 2 and verse 5, the first point I'd like to make is, if we're going to grow spiritually, even in a world where our hands are full, one thing we need to notice is that Nehemiah had the right desire. His heart had the right desire. In Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 5 it says, "And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I might build it." And we see here that his heart, he had a desire that was given there for the Lord, for things of the Lord. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 1 says, "The preparations in the heart of man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord." So God is interested in our hearts when our hearts have the right desires. And if we are desiring the right types of things, if it's truly a desire of our heart, we're going to find a way to make sure that comes to happen. Even if that is at the expense of maybe cutting a different priority from our list to make room to do this desire that God has given us. Psalm 37:5 says, "Delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thy heart." So it's a good thing here's Nehemiah. We can point out first, it was a very good thing that he had a desire in his heart to do something for God. And if you don't have a God-given desire for your life, a purpose you feel that God has specifically for you, I would encourage you to search these scriptures, to pray to the Lord and find out what it is, because I will guarantee you, he has something for you to do. Some plan that he wants you to do for him. Psalm 21 verse 2 says, "Thou hast given him his heart's desire, and dost not withhold the request of his lips." So we see here, if we have an earnest desire in our heart, God is not going to withhold himself from blessing that. And obviously, what maybe the most well-known is Matthew 6:21, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Part of the reason why oftentimes I think as Christians we might not get as much done for the Lord is because we don't have as much desire for the Lord as maybe we really should. Maybe we really should. Okay, so first point there, his heart had the right desire. The next thing I like to notice about Nehemiah is that his mind was determined. His mind was determined. If we turn over to chapter 4, Nehemiah chapter 4, starting in verse 6. "So we built the wall, and all the wall was joined together until the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. But it came to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah, and the Arabians, and the Ammonites, and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up, and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth, and conspired all of them together to come and fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God, and set a watch against them day and night, because of them." That word there, now focus on to number 9, it says, nevertheless. Nevertheless. Here we are, they're facing these aren't just people that are saying mean things about Nehemiah and those. These are people who are a threat to physically come and stop them from building and repairing this wall. Now, oftentimes Christians, our natural instinct, if we're non-confrontational, we just want to appease people, is if somebody threatens me, what do? We stop. We stop doing what we're doing. They got me to do it? Yeah, but they don't want me to do it, so I'm not going to keep going. Well, God told me to serve in this ministry, and I was doing it for a while, but some people got offended and didn't like the way I was doing things, so I stopped. The first word in verse number 9, nevertheless. Nevertheless. If I can be so bold to say this, who cares what they said? Who cares what they thought? Who cares what Sanballat and Tobiah and all those the Ammonites, Ashdodites, who cares what they thought? Regardless of what they said, nevertheless, we made our prayers unto God. We're in no position, but Nehemiah realized very, very quickly and very early on, I
I don't have to respond to these people. I am responsible to one person, and that's God Almighty Himself. And I think us as Christians, we would do a lot more for God if we were more worried and realized we're answering to Him, not a bunch of people around us who really don't matter in the scope of eternity. We have one person that we are to answer to. And there's going to come some times when we face the opposition, we're going to have to say those same words, nevertheless. Too bad if they don't want me to do it. Too bad if they don't like it. If it offends people, I'm not saying, no, please understand, I'm not saying we should not go out of our way to offend people. I'm not saying to go around and try to step on people's toes and get people's faces and cause discord. That's not what I'm saying. But if you have a desire that God has given you, and you are faithfully walking out and working towards that desire in obedience to Him, nevertheless of what other people say, you need to keep going, regardless of the opposition to the plan that God has given you. As we see here, Nehemiah's faith is evident in his determination to do what God had told him to do. One of the quotes, very well-known quote, says, "It has been said that strength is not the absence of fear, but willingness to do what we believe is right in spite of fear." And as Christians, we need to apply that to our spiritual lives. We need to apply that to our spiritual walk. As we see with Nehemiah, his heart had the right desire, and his mind was determined. When we talk about the mind being determined, there's a lot of verses that go along well with it. James 1:8 comes to mind, where it says, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." If you are not determined to do something, you're not going to do it. One of my favorite quotes I came across one time, it said, "Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right." If you don't think you can do something, you're not going to do it. If you think you can do something, you are going to find a way to accomplish it and work through the challenges that arise as they come up. Ezra 7:10 tells us that he prepared his heart to serve the Lord. That word there, prepared, shows that he was determined in setting his heart upon the things of the Lord. In Acts chapter 20, verse 16, Paul was determined to sail to Ephesus. That means he had already made up his mind where he was going to go before he got on the boat. If you know anything about Paul, when he got on a boat, it wasn't always smooth sailing. He ran into some tempests, he ran into some storms, he ran into some turbulence, he ran into difficulties with other people, he ran into difficulties with other believers when he was on these trips. But Paul, just like Nehemiah, nevertheless, he was determined to go where God told him to go. 1 Corinthians 2:2 says that I'm determined to know not anything except Christ and Him crucified. I am determined to know Christ. 1 Thessalonians 5:21 tells us to hold fast that which is good, to be determined that you are going to hold on to. And we can apply that to the desires that God gives us. Obviously, those are good things. The desires of our heart, the things of God, we need to hold fast and make a determined decision to hold on to those things. Okay, so we see here, the first point is that Nehemiah had the right desire. His heart had the right desire. His mind was determined. Next thing I'd like to notice is that his tactics were discerning. What I mean by that is that his methods were well thought out and planned out. His tactics were discerning. If you're still there in Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 13, it says, "Therefore set I in the lower places behind the wall, and on the higher places I even set the people after their families with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles and to the rulers and to the rest of the people, Be not afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses. And it came to pass when our enemies heard that it was known unto us, and God brought our counsel to naught, that we returned all of us to the wall, everyone to his work." So one thing we see here about his tactics were discerning. Nehemiah had a very well thought out, very well planned, very well, if you ask me, he prayed about this decision on where to place individual people as they proceeded through this battle. He had different people with different skill sets in the front, people with different skill sets in the middle, different skill sets in the back. But one thing you'll notice that he charged in the beginning: keep God, keep a focus on God in front. There's a very smart, that's a very smart tactic. It's a very discerning thing for any Christians to do as we walk through lives and challenges. No matter who's walking beside us, serving alongside us in ministry, whoever's involved in different ministries, and we might be involved in different facets of service around the church. The number one thing is we need to remember that God needs to be the focal point. Doesn't matter, because what happens, if you know anything about history, and I was watching a documentary on the Civil War the other day. They said something about how they would line up the army units would be lined up in different battalions and different groups over here, equipped with different weapons. The tanks might be at the end because they have longer range type of weapons. But the thing that's interesting is they showed this old footage of people that kind of marching through the battlefield. One by one, these people that are mines would topple over. They'd get hit, they'd get knocked down. Now the one thing that they kept in front of them is they had an American flag that was still going forward to give them the direction. As Christians, there are going to be times when those that you're serving alongside, people that we know, people we're close with, that are going to falter. They're going to fall down. The devil might knock some people down. Satan might get a hold of some people and hold them down and drag them down not to get up again. And if we're not focused on our flag, if we're not focused on Jesus Christ at the forefront of our mind in all that we do, it's very easy for us to fall down with him or to just to give up and not go forward. We need to be discerning about our tactics. Also, along with that, we'll touch on this a little later, this tactics we're discerning, but we also need to be discerning and be realistic about what challenges in areas in our life where we need to build ourselves up spiritually to withstand some of these temptations that we may go through. Because we see, number one, his heart had the right desire. Number two, his mind was determined. Number three, his tactics were discerning. And number four, I would say, his hands had the right devices. And what I mean by that, he had the right equipment, he had the right tools that he was going to need for this endeavor. If you're there in Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 16, it says, "And it came to pass from that time forth, that half my servants brought in the work, and the other half in them held both the spears, the shields, the bows, the habergeons, the rulers that were behind all the house of Judah. They which builded on the wall, and they that bare burdens, were those that laid it, every one with one of his hands brought into work, and with the other hand held a weapon. For the builders, everyone had his sword girded by his side, and so builded. And he that sounded the trumpet was by me." So we see here, quite literally, if you can imagine this huge wall, that these guys that are trying to repair the breaches, fill in the cracks, these breaks in the wall. Now, if you've ever been up on, done any drywall work, you've been up on scaffolding, if you've ever, I don't do heights, so this is all just, I've seen other people do this, I don't think there's analogies. But if you see this, typically, you don't see guys drinking coffee or playing on their phone when they're up high places and working on a wall. Why? You want both of your hands free for what you're doing, right? But we see that these people were on such a path that they had their tools for building and repairing in one hand, and a weapon to fight off the combatants with the other. I think it's pretty safe to say, literally, they had their hands full. Probably more so than what we do as Christians, really, if we're going to be honest about it. Building with one hand, prepared to fight with another. Their hands were full, but the thing that's important is, their hands weren't just full of anything. Okay, if they were up there, they weren't up there just with, some watercolor paints to make a nice little design on top of the wall. No, they had weapons to fight people off. And oftentimes, I think as Christians, the biggest thing is, it's okay, we need to realize it's okay for our hands to be full, but they need to be full of the right things. They need to be full of the right things. We'll see, even when Goliath scolded David, he didn't scold him because his hands were full. He said, "You come at me with a dog with staves." He said, you have the wrong equipment. Even Goliath, had this knowledge. In 2 Samuel 17:43 it says, I'm sorry, 1 Samuel 17:43, and the Philistine said to David, am I a dog? Thou comest to me with staves. We see also with Gideon. Okay, Gideon, who worked for the Lord, did a lot of one mighty battle for the Lord. He had lamps in one hand and pitchers in the other. His hands were full. Moses, when God used him to divide the Red Sea, he had a staff in his hand. His hand was full of something. In Exodus chapter 7, we see the example of Aaron and Hur, and when the Israelites were in battle, they would hold up Moses' hands, and when Moses' hands were raised by these two men, the Israelites prevailed in victory, but when they began to drop, the Israelites would begin to be defeated. So we see here many times, and there's a biblical precedent for us actually having our hands full. It's not an excuse to not be involved in God's work because our hands are full. The problem is we need to get rid of the things in our hands that don't need to be there, that aren't helpful, and replace them with things that God wants us to have access to as we live for Him and work for Him. So we see that Nehemiah was on something. We too should be prepared and equipped with the weapons that we need to fight off the devil. In conclusion, if you'll turn over to Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6, we'll start reading verse 10. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10, it says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. So we see here, if we're going to withstand the wiles of the devil, if we're going to overcome the temptations of this world, if we're going to overcome the sins of the flesh, we need to be properly equipped. These verses 10 to 18 here in Ephesians chapter 6, lay out a lot of these things that we need. Our feet shod in the preparation of the gospel of peace. And we see in verse 14, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation. This spiritual journey that we're on requires us at times to put on the equipment necessary for the challenges that we're going to face. When I played football in high school, one of the first things that they always check, referees would check, obviously you had to have a helmet on, it should stick out, but they check to make sure you had a mouthpiece in it, so they'll make sure nobody's going to get a concussion. Problem is, we don't realize sometimes some of these challenges we're going up against, we're trying to fight them in our own worldly flesh. We don't take the time to properly clothe ourselves with the armor necessary for the battle. Now, if we have, and Ailey's 3 now, so she's starting to get to the point where she's trying to learn how to ride a bike a little bit. But whatever she does, one of the first things we do is we make sure she has her helmet on, we make sure she has her elbow pads and her knee pads and things like that. Now, if we are discerning enough as people to realize there's some minimal dangers of her riding the bike on our sidewalk in front of our house. But if I make sure that she has the proper equipment on to do that, how much more important is it for us, for a Christian, to walk out in a big, bad, scary world with all these sins and temptations literally surrounding us at every turn? How unwise it is for us to go out in our own flesh without properly equipping ourselves for them. Now, does that include our hands getting full? Yes. You're going to have to use your hands to put on some things. You might need to fight off these evil forces that we encounter. But we see here from Nehemiah, there's a biblical precedent for having our hands full. Just in conclusion, for Nehemiah, his heart had the right desire. If you don't have a desire right now in your heart for the Lord, pray about that and get that stuff. Find out what it is. His mind was determined. He was focused. He was not going to be changed. He was focused on what God had told him to do, and nobody was going to be able to talk him out of it or stop him from doing it. Number 3, his tactics were discerned. He put thought and prayer into how he was going to approach these different challenges and battles that he knew were going to be coming his way. And 4, his hands had the right places. He filled his hands. He filled his life. He filled his mind spiritually with things that he knew was going to help him. Things he knew he was going to need. He had a weapon and building tools. And we, just as he had the right tools in his hands, we need to make extra sure that we are carrying the right tools in our hands as well. And oftentimes, it might be because if we're lacking in one area, we're not really equipped how we should be spiritually. It might be because we're wearing some other clothing, we're wearing some other things that really aren't necessary for what we need to do. Have you ever noticed it? Have you ever seen people when they're changing clothes? Oftentimes, in order to put on new clothes, you have to take something else off. If you're going to make time for the Lord and do spiritual things, there's going to come time you're going to have to get rid of some things. You're going to have to say no to some other very good opportunities. You might have to miss out on some family reunions and birthday parties or parades and festivals to be in church when church is open. I know for me, growing up, I had to miss out on a lot of baseball and basketball games and things like that because we were not going to miss church for sports. My dad made that very clear. My dad made it very clear. I remember as a 9-year-old person, my dad said, "You're an average height person playing basketball, and this is not going to be your career. And even if it is, even if it's me in my house, we're going to serve the Lord." And we talked a little bit this morning about, as adults, our role in raising children. We can't control how everybody else is living their lives, but individually as Christians, we have no excuse if we are not properly equipped or properly dressed, if we're not taking the time to pray, seek God's will, and find out, what do I need to get through this? Because He's given it all to us. He makes it clear what we need. That doesn't make it any easier, but at least when we get knocked down, we got a helmet on so we don't bump our head. Okay? God wants what's best for us. God wants what's best for us. And just like Nehemiah, we need to be properly equipped to do what He's asked us to do. Let's close with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this book. We thank you for this. We thank you for Nehemiah. Lord, just scratching the surface of just a wonderful example you gave us. How each of us can apply our hearts, by our lives, by our physical labor to be used by you, where may we all be diligent and steadfast in pursuing the desires that you've given us through our hearts to do for you. Help us be properly equipped and diligent to do this in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Garrett, for challenging the Word of God this morning. I ask you to take your hymnal and then hymn number 383. When you get there, let's stand as we sing, "Follow, I Will Follow Thee," 383.
How can I be
carried.